Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another retro review, and this time this is my review of the Dragon Ball live action films. All three of them. Yes, a lot of people probably didn't know that there are actually three Dragon Ball live action films. One made by Korea, one made, I think, in either Hong Kong or Taiwan. I can't remember. And finally, the more recent one, Dragon Ball Evolution, made by 20th Century Fox here in America. The first one I'm going to start off with is the 1990 Dragon Ball live action film, which has a special name called Sagara Son Goku or An Ignorar Son Goku. The name is too long to pronounce, so I just call it the 1990 Korean Dragon Ball live action film. Much to my surprise, I thought there were only two live action Dragon Ball films, but this film right here is the first unofficial, unlicensed version Dragon Ball film. Of course, the only officially licensed version is Dragon Ball Evolution. This film and the next one I'm about to talk about are both unofficial, unlicensed films. But this film right here, one thing it has over the next two films I'm about to talk about, its successes is that this film right here, this film follows the story of Dragon Ball much closer than the second two films. Of course, in my opinion, I love this film. However, I don't think it's as good as the next two I'm about to talk about. This film is pretty much based on the Emperor Pilaf saga, and it almost follows the saga the exact same way, except for a bunch of differences. Such as one differences. This is actually one of my favorite things about the film. Since this film was, entirely low budget, and if you've seen the Dragon Ball cartoon or comic, you kind of need a lot of money. You kind of need a good amount of money to produce a Dragon Ball film. So all of the anthropomorphs, the talking animals seen in Dragon Ball, they had to replace them with they had to replace them with either stuffed animals or humans in costumes. In one scene, one of my favorite scenes, the first enemy Goku fights in the cartoon and manga, he fights a bird. In this movie, he fights a a man in a bird suit. A man in a bird suit. Love the costume design, even though Goku's costume design, in my opinion, was kind of lazy. I do love his hair. His hair reminds me of more of Yu-Gi-Oh than Goku. His hair is hilarious. I didn't like Bulma in this film, but like I said, Dragon Ball Evolution is probably the only adaptation I actually like Bulma in, which I'm going to get to later. I love Oolong in this film, and I love how Oolong in this film could fight. Same with, this is probably the only adaptation of Emperor Pilaf I actually like. Emperor Pilaf in this game are the main antagonists of this film, and in this film, Emperor Pilaf can fight and shoot Kai blasts. Mai is a stormtrooper and is much deadlier here than she was in the original comic book, than she was in the original series. And of course, Shu is also more deadly here, and he has a cool Metal Heroes costume, and of course, Ninja Mirisaki from the Red Ribbon Army saga appears in this film too, and so does Nappa several years before Nappa and Vegeta even invaded the Earth. Like I said, this was such an awesome film for a low budget um Dragon Ball flick. Awesome fight choreography. The acting in this one is even in, well, yeah, there is no English version of this. There wasn't even any subtitles, but I know the story very well. So I kind of didn't need them. Um, yeah, like I said, awesome costume design. Just a really awesome underrated film, and I'll be talking more about this underrated film in a solo video. Now the next one is Dragon Ball: The Magic Begins, which this was released in this was released in this was released in 1991. This is the second Dragon Ball live action film, and of course, just like the first one I talked about, this film is also the second unofficial and unlicensed Dragon Ball live action film. This film was made without Akira Toriyama's permission, so the creators of this film had to rename each character and object in the film. They had to change the Dragon Balls to Dragon Pearls. I think that's what they called it, Dragon Pearls. And of course, Goku became Monkey Boy. Um, Yamcha became Westwood. Bulma became Seto. Um, Sparkle. Grandpa Gohan became Sparkle. Oolong became Piggy, and of course, um, Quar became Miss Noet or Snow White. Um, um, Master Roshi became Turtle Hermit or Turtle Man, and of course, um, this film, of course, before I continue with the cast, this film, of course, a lot of people like me, when I first saw it, thought this film was based on the Emperor Pilaf saga, and I thought the villains in this film were made up, but they weren't. This film is actually based on the animated Dragon Ball Curse of the Blood Rubies film. Curse of the Blood Rubies film. I've seen highlights of this film, but I've never watched it. But the other characters in this film, um Jade Jade, of course, who is based on Pansy from the Curse of the Blood Rubies film, and of course, the main antagonists of the film, um, King King Horn, Zabrata, and Maria are all based on King Gormuth, Vongo, and Pasta from the Dragon Ball Curse of the Blood Rubies film. One thing I liked better is that this film was a lot closer to the Monkey Boy legend. This film was a lot closer to the Monkey Boy legend than the original Dragon Ball series was. The original Dragon Ball series was. There was a scene where with Goku feeding a bunch of monkeys. Oolong, one of the many things I've always hated about the original Dragon Ball was Oolong's depiction in the novel. Oolong's character was all of the stuff he was in the manga, but in the Chinese novel, Oolong could fight, and he could fight in this film, and he participated in the final battle with King Horn, which brings my next thing. One thing I love about this film is the explosive action, and of course, there's a special edition version of this film which has cool video game CGI like cutscenes spliced in with the fighting, something similar to Super Sentai, which is what these two films, this film and the previous one I talked about, remind me of. They remind me of Power Rangers, Metal Heroes meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Masters of the Universe, and Masters of the Universe. That's what both of these movies reminds me of. I really love the design of Zabrata, Zabrata or Vongo's character, who reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator character. I also love the over the top violence in this film and the humor. This movie was downright hilarious. I like both versions, the English and Japanese dub. This is one of the many times I think the English dub, I think the English dub is much better, even though the Japanese version is the Cantonese, Hong Kong or Taiwan version is good too. I think the English dub is better though. Um, and like I said, just an underrated film. Most of the reviews average to are average to mixed to negative. Negative. This film is mostly looked at as a joke, but for a low budget, this film right here was awesome, and it sucks that this was unofficial. Unofficial means they could probably only could make one. They could like make multiple more films based on the other sagas and after this one. So cast everything, and like I said, I enjoy these live action films more than I do the actual series. More than do the actual series. Now, the final one, oh man, you know it. The final one is Dragon Ball Evolution. This film, like I said, goes all the way back to 2002 when it was announced that 20th Century Fox had acquired the rights to make a live action Dragon Ball film. And I remember having a magazine, I think, called Absolute or Totally Dragon Ball Z. I don't remember which one it was. But in that said magazine, there were characters. In that said magazine, there were fictional live action there were fictional actors who were supposed to portray the characters from Dragon Ball. Who were supposed to portray they had a fictitious fan made cast for who should play the characters from Dragon Ball. Play the characters from Dragon Ball. And I remember later losing hope. Later losing hope that the Dragon Ball film would never be made. Then finally, around 2007, it's finally announced that the Dragon Ball film will be made. And finally, 2008, I see leaked shots of Goku, Roshi, and Piccolo in the film, and I hear all this other stuff, and finally in 2009, I saw this film and I was blown away, and I still love and enjoy Dragon Ball Evolution 7 years later. The film is still awesome today. I've watched it I don't know how many times, but this film is awesome, and it gets even more awesome every time I watch. Film is awesome from beginning to end. I love how they modernized Dragon Ball. I love how they took something that, in my opinion, by today's standards, just isn't really all that good. In my opinion, they made not only did they modernize it, they made it good. They improved all the problems I had with the anime series. Everything about this film was good, from the cast, the action, the special effects, the sets, the costume design. Everything about this film was good. The only problems with this film, believe it or not, were stuff behind the scenes, such as for some odd reason, James Masters, the guy who portrayed Piccolo, has talked about this. He's the only guy today who still talks about the Dragon Ball Evolution film. Um, Things like for some odd reason, cutting out most of Goku and Piccolo's fight scene. Most of the fight scene him and Justin Chatwin filmed. Um, Not including the deleted scenes from the DVD into the film. All of these deleted scenes were good, especially the extra scenes with Bulma and Goku, the extra scenes with Roshi and Sifu Norris, and of course the extended Fulham fight scene. You should have included those scenes. The extra key scene was pretty badass too, and so was Goku lifting the car. You should have kept these scenes in the film. They would have explained more. They would have helped some. It would have explained more about this film for newcomers, which is the last problem I had with it. Was not, well, you wanted to target newcomers, which I totally understood, but you didn't make it accessible to newcomers. You made it totally despite you made it totally for people who've watched Dragon Ball before. For people who've watched Dragon Ball before. But like I said, man, yeah. Just an awesome film, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated films of all time. It was hated on because of how different it was from its manga and anime counterparts. But I still enjoy this film today, and I think this film is way better than the manga and anime, which I'm going to talk about in the next video. Well, this was my review of the 3 live-action Dragon Ball films. Of course, I'm going to talk more about these films in individual videos and in several other special variety type videos like this one. All right, Doug is done.